Hello, it's Robert Miner with Dynamic Traders Group with this week's DT trade strategies for the week beginning September 4th. I didn't do a video last week, got real busy, so we'll take a look at a couple markets this week of potential trade setups for the coming week and potential reversals. Of course, in the U.S., there's no trading on Monday. The exchanges are closed on Monday, so keep that in mind. If you like what you hear here, check out our DT reports at dynamictraders.com, or if you really want to learn a complete trading strategy, check out my book, High Probability Trading Strategies. Also, if you like what you learn, you can apply this to any market and any time frame. So even if you don't trade the markets we talk about, you're going to learn some trading strategies that you can apply to any market, any time frame. And of course, our DT reports update these markets and a lot more of them every single day. So it's an ongoing trade setup, alert system. It's an ongoing education. Boy, just a lot of information. You get a lot of education you get with a subscription to a DT report. Okay, let's get started. Take a look at a couple markets. The first market we're going to take a look at is an ETF, Gbtc. So it's an ETF that follows Bitcoin almost tick for tick. So if you're interested in Bitcoin and you want to trade it, but maybe you don't want to trade Bitcoin itself or Bitcoin futures or whatever, you can trade the ETF. Lots of volume. You can take small positions, that type of thing. So here's the weekly data for Gbtc. And by the way, I'm recording this about 1:30 Friday afternoon, so there might be a little activity for the rest of the day, but nothing significant is going to change. So the most important thing we want to know from the weekly data is the weekly momentum has been overbought for about 3 weeks now, and that's significant. We're getting near the extreme of when the weekly momentum's overbought and it results in a price reversal. So it's been overbought for about 3 or 4 weeks, and essentially there's been very little gain over the last 3 or 4 weeks, a little bit, but it's lost what W.D. Gann would say, it's buying power. So it's running out of steam. The rate of change has slowed down, and we're at a point before too long, probably going to roll over and complete a weekly high. But what's important here is the advance off the July low is probably a correction. And we'll see that in more detail in the daily in a minute. So if it's a correction, what happens when a correction is over? Well, the trend prior to the correction resumes to a new extreme. In other words, this would be a corrective high. And if it is a correction and not the initial stages of an impulse trend, then when it's complete, eventually Bitcoin should decline to below the July low. So that's really, really significant. So at the very least, you want to be aware that we're at or near a weekly high, which will be followed by 3 to 4 weeks sideways to down, with that possibility of then continuing into a new low. Let's take a look at the daily data. And this is the daily data. Let me add a little more data on here. And it's just the closes. It's not the full range of the day. It's just the daily closes. It helps to clarify the position sometimes. So if we look at Elliott wave coming off of the February high, probable 1, just a real clearly defined ABC correction. Impulsive trend down into the July low, probably a wave 3. And then here's what's important over these last few weeks since the July low, is this advance is very much corrective in nature and pattern, much more so than impulsive. So more than likely it's a correction. More than likely, probably the best wave count at least is an A, B, C, D, and we're in the final stages of completing a wave E. There's a couple things that are really important on this chart. Number one, on basis the close, is that the recent highs right around the 50% retracement from the April high. That's significant. And look at how long it's been here. It's really been around that 50% retracement since the middle of August. Now, I realize it's advanced since then over that last 2 or 3 weeks, but very little very little over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So again, it's run out of momentum, it's run out of buying power. So around the 50% retracement, and more important is what I got labeled the wave 1 closing low back in March, is just a little bit above where the market's at as of today, and that should be the extreme. If this is making a correction, then the Gbtc should not close above 4140. That's what I got labeled as the wave 1 closing low, and so we're within 1 point of that now on Gbtc anyway, given that we're at 40.63, and it should not close above 41.40 if this is making a corrective advance. Now, it's still in the position, even if it were to close above 41.40, to complete a weekly high, but it would have a different connotation, or different ramification, I should say. So just keep that in mind. This is an important closing level. The daily momentum is bullish. It's reaching the oversold zone, but it's not quite there yet. Usually would imply there's another 2 to 3 days sideways to up, but the next daily momentum bear reversal, if it's made without having closed above 41.40, that could be a very significant high that's complete. So we should be just within 2 or 3 days of making that. So those of you who might be long Gbtc or Bitcoin, you want to be aware of we're near an extreme position to complete a weekly high, and that should be complete by next week. 2 time factors fell this past week, and August 25th and 26th, 2 significant time factors, and that is the 100% alternate time projection of what I got labeled the wave 2 from the wave 3 low, and also the 38.2% time retracement of the wave 3. That's the minimum time retracement typical of a 5-wave trend, which wave 3 is a 5-wave trend. So we've reached the minimum time retracement probable. We've reached and exceeded slightly a really high probability time target to complete a wave 4. So we've already exceeded that. These aren't always exact reversal targets. Sometimes they can be, but they're really important in that time is running out for this advance, just as price is running out, just as momentum is running out. So those of you who are interested in Bitcoin and the ETF, if you're long, I'd get your stops pretty close to the market. I certainly would not want to remain long on a close below the August 31st little swing low close at 37.77. In fact, that would be also a signal to go short, and a really good signal to go short. But certainly you'd not want to be long if we got to close below 37.77, because that would imply this advance is complete, and we'd probably be sideways to down for 3 to 4 weeks. And of course, these sorts of trends, these weekly trends in Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies, are really high percentage trends. So again, you might not want to sit through that. And then you want to be aware of the potential following a close below 37.77 is eventually declining below the July low. That's pretty significant. So let's take a look at the euro, and of course everything we look at the euro, the dollar is just in the inverse. Going to take a look at it, one for an immediate trade opportunity. Well, it's going to be in a few days, but coming up, a very significant trade opportunity potential. And also that the longer term position seems to be clarified a bit, and that can be important for those of you who have needs to have an idea of the probable long-term multi-month and even multi-year trend within the euro or the dollar. So this is the euro weekly data, and what's significant is coming off of the January high. Now that was, by the way, just clearly an Elliott wave, 5-wave impulsive pattern into this January high. But here's what's significant now as of the last couple of weeks. High probability of having completed a very significant ABC correction, which should be a wave 2 correction. That's really significant that indeed if it's completed an ABC correction, that eventually the euro will continue to advance to well above the January high. over not just the next few weeks, but the few months. Now, the weekly momentums are bullish and not overbought, so the immediate trend is likely to be net bullish for another 2 to 3 weeks. However, as you'll see in a minute, we're near a position to make what we call a daily correction. That'd be a correction lasting several days. But this is really significant in that the low a couple weeks ago was made right in the ideal end of wave 5 of C of 2 price target zone. That's really significant. And there was a bunch of time factors at that time also, including the 100% alternate time projection. In other words, the last decline was 12 weeks and the recent decline was also 12 weeks. So, and we've already made a reversal confirmation signal that this low should be complete this past week. Really significant. So this is a very high potential. Nothing's for sure in any market, but this is in a really high probability position to have completed a significant ABC correction. Here's the daily data, and we're just looking at over the last couple of weeks. This has been a relentless bull trend for this last about 3 weeks since the August 20th low. Very significant. We're coming into a time period between actually today, Friday, and next Tuesday, when we should complete this daily high. So this is 2 key time factors. This is the low to high, and then this is a shorter term low, high coming into Tuesday. And those low, high time factors are usually the extremes before we complete a comparable high to some of these other daily highs we've had recently. So that's significant. What's significant is the advance is bullish impulse trend, and that indicates the higher time frame trend is reversed to bullish. But we want to be careful right around now because the daily momentums have been overbought for 3 or 4 days. So we're in a position between now and Tuesday at the latest to complete a daily high, which would be followed by a corrective decline and then followed by a resumption of the bear trend. Or excuse me, the bull trend. So depends on your trading time frame. Keep in mind we're probably within 1 to 2 trading days at the most of completing a daily high. That would be followed by 3 to 4 or 5 day corrective decline, which would then, as we get the next cycle in the daily momentum, should complete a corrective decline, would be another ideal setup on the long side. So the immediate upside is probably pretty limited. The next really high probability best setup is going to come. It's going to probably be in 4 or 5 trading days, maybe even a little bit more, for a correction against this probable major multi-month bull trend that just began a couple 3 weeks ago. So that's where we're at with the euro and the dollar, and of course then with Bitcoin and the Gbtc that we looked at earlier. Well, that's it for today. I hope you take advantage of this information. I hope if you're interested in keeping updated for specific trade strategies on these markets and many other markets that we follow, the major financial markets and a few commodities, that you'll check out our DT reports. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic week, and hope to be back with you by next week. Take care.